Greetings and salivations, kitchen heathens. Tonight we're making Tori Katsudon, aka chicken katsudon, family style. The first thing we want to do is make our chicken cutlets. Traditionally, this is made with day-old pork cutlets, but I like to make mine fresh for this dish. The first thing you want to do is cut some chicken breast in half and then pat them dry. You'll notice I have some chicken tendies thrown in there as well. I want all the crunchy little cutlets I can get. After patting your chicky bits dry, it's time to add those two most basic seasonings in a cook's arsenal, salt and pepper. You can always add more seasonings if you want, but I'll be keeping it simple today. After seasoning your chicky bits, we're going to do a little maneuver I like to call dust, dip, and roll. And it is exactly what it sounds like. We're going to dust our chicky bits in flour, dip them in egg wash, and roll them in panko. Now, if you're making a gluten-free katsudon, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to want to do, you can use gluten-free panko, which yes, does exist, and then just replace the flour with cornstarch. Just make sure that you dust off excess cornstarch before it goes into the egg wash. I had to stop and clean my hands here because I forgot to use a fork for the egg wash part, and so I had panko and flour stuck to my fingers, and it was very, very gross. So I recommend either use one hand for the dry ingredients and one hand for the wet ingredients, or use a fork. It's much, much tidier. I don't have any gloves right now. Once you're finished spreading all of your cutlets, it's time for the fun part, deep frying. First, we're going to need my favorite thing, fire. After that, we're going to need a really big pot. I'm using a wok. You should also use a candy thermometer, unless you want to guesstimate how hot your oil is. The oil that I'm using is local palm oil. Now, before anyone panics, this is local Filipino palm oil and no orangutan habitats were destroyed to collect it. If you're choosing to deep fry your cutlets instead of baking or air frying them, make sure that the tip of your candy thermometer is not touching the bottom of your pot or the readings will not be accurate. After heating your oil up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit over medium heat, it's time to put your cutlets in. If you don't feel comfortable dropping the cutlets into the hot oil with your bare hands, you can use some tongs. There's nothing wrong with putting your safety first. Fry your cutlets for 2 to 4 minutes depending on thickness or until they reach an internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Once they're golden brown and crispy, remove them from the oil and put them on a wire rack or on paper towels to drain. If you're a pots girly, this is an excellent time to add more salt. If you have high blood pressure issues, I don't recommend that. But hey, I'm not a doctor. Do what you want. It's your food. While our cutlets rest, we're going to go ahead and make the soupy bit. And to make that, we need more fire. And a big pot with a lid. After heating that big pot over medium heat, we're going to start this leg of the journey with a little bit of that palm oil. Give your pot a wee little twirl to coat the bottom well. Once the oil is nice and hot, we're going to toss in our onions. Normally, I'd use a lot more onions than this, but my mother-in-law has a sensitive digestive tract, so we're just going to stick with one. When your onions have reached the desired doneness, and this can go anywhere from translucent to full caramelization, it's time to add some water. Normally this dish is made with dashi, not water, but I don't have kombu or bonito flakes, so we're working with what we've got. And that happens to be Knorr bouillon cubes. I always have Knorr products in my kitchen. They're my favorite go-to. Maybe they'll sponsor me. A girl can dream. Next, we're going to add sugar. How much? I don't know. Honestly, I didn't measure this. I always go easy on my seasonings because I can add more later. Remember, kids, you can always add more seasonings at the end, but you can't take them out. Now we're going to add soy sauce. I'm using Filipino soy sauce because it's what I have available, but for authenticity, use Kikkoman. Once you've tasted your broth and balanced the salt from the soy sauce and the sugar you added in so that one does not cancel out the other, it's time to bring it up to a nice simmer. Now we drizzle in some lightly scrambled eggs. I'm using the leftover eggs from the egg wash earlier, but you can scramble fresh eggs if you don't have enough. After you've drizzled in your eggs, put the lid on and turn off the heat. While the ambient heat finishes cooking our eggs, we're going to cut up our well-rested cutlets. Normally, soggy day-old cutlets would have gone into the pot before the egg sees, but since we're using fresh Crispies, they're going on top. While you were slicing up your crispy little cutlets, the eggs should have finished setting in the hot broth, and now it's time to add one of my favorite things, sliced green onions. I just love onions of all kinds. And now you have all of the components you need for your homemade kind of torikatsu served family style. To build your bowl, start with a base of fresh rice. I'm using white rice here, technically sushi rice, but you can use whatever kind you want, even brown rice. Over that, we're going to layer our eggy broth mixture. Get as many onions and eggies as you want, or you can go all broth. Again, it is your bowl. And over the top of it all, we're going to put our delicious crispy chicken cutlet and more green onions. Thanks for watching. Sweet dreams, happy snacking, and may the odds be ever in your flavor. If YouTube University happens to be your thing like it is mine, come find me over there. I'm going to be posting some long form content over there once I master this editing program. I'm not a computer person. Wish me luck.